Hello everybody, welcome to St. Petersburg. As we get ready for the warm-up session, let's check it with what happened in qualifying with Will Buxton.
Coin team, Dennis Hauger and Romain Grosjean making it through into the top 6. Dennis Hauger as a rookie, out-qualifying Alex Palou, the champion, but it's Scott McLaughlin on the pole. Right, who have we chosen as our drivers to watch out for this weekend?
For me, I'm looking at Kyle Kirkwood, the young American who continues to excel on street circuits. He's with Andretti, did not have a good qualifying performance, so come off 15th, but his teammate Marcus Ericsson right up there in second, so you know those Andretti cars are good. You know Kirkwood knows how to win on street circuits, and he has the secret sauce. Brian Herta calling strategy on his box, has done it so many times before, taking drivers to the front.
Look, for me, it's Joseph Newgarden, the not as young American, but the very successful guy. He's a two-time winner here. Problem in qualifying, starting all the way back at the tail end of the field. He's in 23rd position, but I think back to, I think it was 2017 when Sebastian Bourdais had a problem in qualifying, started at the back with a heap of fresh, brand new red sidewalled alternate tires, those softer compounds. Used some great strategy and some great driving to get his way, not just to the front, to the point. He won the race from the back. I think Joseph could do it today.
The difference, though, with Newgarden is he does not have Tim Cindric on the stand this year like he has for so many years. That's with the pole sitter, McLaughlin. Who do you have picked?
I picked Will Power. He's had a tricky weekend. He didn't like the car during first practice, completely turned it upside down overnight, put on the setup that his two new Andretti teammates have got on their cars. Of course, we know Andretti's go so well on street circuits traditionally. He went out in practice, needed to bet it in, needed to see how he felt in it. Didn't get a single competitive lap because, as we saw, went into the wall, but still managed to qualify, I think, really well, considering that he didn't have the feel in the car. Goes into this first race with Andretti today. He knows what it takes on this circuit. And excited to see what he can do.
I think this session for Will Power is critical to get his brakes sorted out, right? He has not had a good lap, I don't think, once yet all weekend, so he really needs to get into a rhythm here, sort out whatever bugs they've had with the braking system, and get on the program.
And you know what? It's interesting we picked those three guys, the three guys that we expect to watch out for from kind of out of position. And we've not mentioned anybody in the top 6 because we'll be watching them naturally. Scott McLaughlin. Let's just talk about Scott, about the week he's had with everything that's gone on at Penske over the last 18 months. The controversies, the rebuilding, losing Will Power to Andretti over the winter. Scott has stepped into that team leader role, and he arrives here straight off the bus, round 1, back on pole position, leading from the front foot.
You guys were with me in Indianapolis. The 3 of us sat across from all 25 of these drivers. We looked them all in the eye. We asked them all very similar questions about what to expect from this season. We went to dinner that night, and I told you guys, Scott McLaughlin has the killer instinct in his eyes for this season. He had a horrible 2025, maybe no worse of a moment than Indianapolis wrecking on the pace lap. He's come into this season totally determined. He has cherry-picked the very best at Team Penske to be on his car, and he is my guy that I think has a chance to topple Alex Palou.
And he didn't get a win for the first time in his Penske career last season, but this track is a special one for him. He made his IndyCar debut here back in 2020, and he was impressive right out of the gate. He's been on pole here before. He got his first career win here in the IndyCar series a few years ago as well. So I think the confidence that driver's had since the second he stepped foot in this paddock on Thursday, what we've seen on the racetrack, he is going to be very tough to beat.
We're right on board with him now. We're down here in pit lane for your warm-up show. So too, though, are Kevin Lee and Jack Harvey.
We've got the Indy Next booth together now in pit lane to get the warm-up going. So let's talk about some of the storylines, Jack. I'm going to first talk about the driver of the number 18 Dale Coyne racing car right behind us, Romain Grosjean. He's effectively been on the couch for the last year and a half. He comes back out, qualifies in the Firestone Fast 6. That's the 4th time he's been up here. Talked to him before, and he said it actually surprised me a little bit, but we really found something before qualifying, and there was more available. He said it was on me. We might have been able to contend for pole. One thing of note is that Grosjean used softs in the Firestone Fast 6, so he has 2 new available today. He and David Malukas are the only in the top 6 that are in that category.
and his teammate Dennis Hauger, the Norwegian nightmare, the IndyNext champion from last year. I mean, what an introduction, Kevin. He's starting P3 on his debut, and just while we talk about tyres, we both have chatted to multiple teams. No one will even give us a guess right now how long this softer red tyre is even going to last. That is what these drivers and teams are going to try and figure out in this warm-up show.
Yeah, it's an important warm-up, guys.
It really is, and if you haven't been with us this weekend, there has been a change in regulation over the winter period. You have to now run 2 sets of those soft tyres during a street race. They don't have to be new, they can be old, but you've got to run 2 sets. We'll be back to the streets of St. Pete.
Don't miss shots.
Dealt with it, so it's going to be, you know, there's no history to go off, so we're all guessing a little bit.
Final warm-up session extended this season to 30 minutes. It was 25 the last few years, and early takers at the top of timing and scoring are Siegel, Rosenquist, Armstrong, Power, and Lundgaard. Let's welcome in Alex Wolff.
And a chance to catch up with our old friend Rob Houghton. A jam-packed schedule here on the streets of St. Petersburg. It includes the USF Pro Championships. And Rob, just to tell us about how this season's been kicking off.
Well, it's interesting this year, Alex. We have 3 programs, as everybody knows: USF Juniors, USF 2000, and USF Pro 2000. The first time ever, we're starting at all different venues. We actually started with USF Juniors a couple of weeks ago at our spring training event in Homestead. Young driver named Maximo Karam came away only 14 years of age, came away with a couple of wins there to get the point lead for Zanella Racing. We launched here this weekend with USF 2000, Sebastian Garzon from D-Force Racing. A huge win for him yesterday, second-year driver. This is always where we see kind of who's going to be the next talent, right? Every year, a bunch of rookies, a bunch of second-year drivers. 16 rookies in USF 2000 this year. And the drivers in USF Pro 2000, they're waiting. They don't get to start until Arlington, so a couple of weeks away from the drivers at the top of our level, and they're itching to get back in the seat for sure.
I mean, just the strength of numbers in those classes, as always. And I know for you and everybody involved with USF Pro Championships, has to be a lot of pride when you see those folks climbing the ladder to IndyNext by Firestone, and then, most importantly, the top step of the NTT INDYCAR Series.
Hey, Alex, no doubt about that. Listen, we keep talking about the fact that we launched our USF Juniors program back in 2022, right? So we haven't had a driver move to IndyCar yet from USF Juniors, our first series. Well, IndyNext yesterday, the front row are both USF Juniors graduates, right, in Max and Nikita, and they both have won races on all 3 levels of our program as well. So for us to watch what they're doing right now in IndyNext, it's huge for USF Juniors, for the whole USF Pro Championships. But again, we're always taking pride in guys like Rinus VK, Stingray Robb, Kyle Kirkwood, Christian Rasmussen, Louis Foster, 5 drivers who were USF Pro 2000 champions who are now part of the NTT IndyCar Series.
And lastly, you talk about that with IndyNext by Firestone and Max Garcia making that climb up a couple weeks shy of his 17th birthday. I think it really shows for USF Pro to have him able to sort of hit the ground running, if you will, with JBMotorsports at that young of an age, because he's been trained so well as he's climbed up.
It is really...
Last season was quite stressful because you just didn't quite know what was going to happen. I believe the approach was the right one, which was, it's a long championship. Don't get heated.
Pato Award wins at Iowa.
I'm going to try really enjoy this year. You know, this stuff doesn't last forever.
This team is capable of putting together a championship run.
I'm determined to win the Indy 500. I know I want to keep the 8 wins, the championship win, and the 500 win. That's a goal.
How do you beat the best? 18 races stand before us in 2026. 25 drivers running for the title. 1 man, though, in their sights, and that is Alex Palou, now a 4-time champion. One driver hoping to do that, of course, is Will Power, made a big move over the off-season to Andretti, and we are delighted to welcome CEO of TWG Motorsports, Dan Towers, to the show today. Huge signing in Will Power. Welcome to the show. Great to start the season with you. What's Will brought to the team? Because he's so experienced. 45 today, by the way. Happy birthday, Will Power. So much experience, a champion at Andretti. Have you felt that impact that he's brought immediately?
Absolutely, and again, happy birthday, Will Power. But Will's been amazing. I think, you know, our has just been to unleash Will I want the full Will Power in Andretti. And I think just the experience that he brings, it's just a different perspective. He has the respect of engineering. So when the drivers and the engineers are getting together, they're able to talk about things on the car and just that credibility. I also think that what Will's brought to the team has helped Marcus. I think we're going to see a different Marcus Ericsson this season as well.
Dan, we talk a lot about what's it going to take to beat Alex Palou. That's the question all over the paddock. It's with drivers, with engineers, certainly with team ownership. When you look at the intangibles of Alex Palou, what do you see there? Because I talked about this yesterday. You can talk about technique, you can talk about setup, you can talk about strategy, but with Alex, there's an intangible element there that I think we all know exists, but it's hard to put our finger on. What do you see when you study his performance?
Yeah, I mean, I think Alex just sees the race, develop, but also just his precision, his ability to execute what he sees on track. It's so competitive here on the INDYCAR circuit. And so it's those small details. Who's going to execute the smallest details the best? That's who's going to win. I mean, even yesterday in qualifying, we saw such a small margin of difference between the cars in the Fast Six. And so it's just those small details. Who's going to execute the best today?
Dan, I want to take a step back a little bit and talk about how Will Power ended up at Andretti Global. What was the thought process? Whose idea? Who was sitting there one day and thinking, hey, they haven't announced him at Penske. Maybe we should have this conversation. This is a guy we still think can win.
Honestly, we were at Road America last year, and I just had a talk with Colton Herta about what his future might be, both in IndyCar and in Formula One. He wanted to go off and think about it. I walk 100 feet away from Andretti Hospitality. Here comes Will Power on a scooter. He says, I want to drive for you, man.
We were talking to him, and he said right from the start of last season, his one aim, the one team that he was looking at if he was going to move away from Penske was Andretti. What does that say about what you and the team are doing and the plans that you have for the future, that for someone as experienced as Will, and someone who's worked with the most storied team in this paddock in Penske, that you were the goal, you were the aim?
Yeah, I mean, I think Will knows we bring fast cars to the track. I think, Will's very impressed with the people that we have at Andretti. We have so many talented individuals working there. But again, I think we haven't executed at the highest level the last few years. And so I think Will thinks with what he brings to the table, with the potential that is there, both in the cars and in the people, that we can put that together and have a magical season.
What is his temperament like this morning? This has not been a Cinderella weekend so far by any stretch. There's been issues in the brake zone. He got into the wall. He's been frustrated. What is his temperament like? We talk about what Alex Palou's temperament's like. What did we see with Will Power this morning?
Yeah, I think with Will, he was a lot happier with the car yesterday. Certainly there was frustration, early on. The brakes weren't where he wanted to be, and it was a bit of a bumpy start. We got a late start in the year. He was parked for the, latter part of the off season, which I wasn't very happy about. But again, like he had some frustration in the car, but he just kind of worked through it. And we, on the Andretti side, we got to see just a little bit of the intensity of Will Power, and I'm here for it.
We ran a commercial, a great commercial with Will, where it's about the many different faces, the many different sides of Will Power. How many of those have you seen so far?
I've seen about 3 at this point, but I've heard there's more.
I think we'll see a few more by the end of the day today. But it's not just Will that joined the team, not just Will that joined the team from Team Penske. Of course, you added Ron Rzuski to be the team manager over at Andretti. What's that dynamic like? How helpful has it been for Will to have Ron there, and just what's Ron brought to the program?
Yeah, so Ron is really just helping us to elevate the bar. I think it's just, whether it's the quality of the car builds, the consistency, everything that we're trying to do at Andretti is just elevate this team to the next step. And Ron has certainly been a key, focal point in doing that. But again, Ron got a late start, so he's just been here with the team just a short bit of time, but in that short bit of time, he's made a huge impact, and I think certainly the trajectory arrow is pointing up for Andretti.
Dan, before we have to let you go, you are a titan in the business world. You also, of course, you don't just have a motorsports portfolio, you have a huge sports portfolio, you have a beautiful family, and yesterday you showed us that you are more talented in areas that we didn't realize as a pit lane reporter, putting us all to shame with your questioning of James Hinchcliffe in the Truck Series race yesterday. Is that a missed opportunity in life?
It might be. That was so much fun. I think James is always interviewing me on air, and I was like, he was in our truck. This is the chance to flip the script. I love what Georgia do, what Kevin do, and I really wanted to to be able to interview him. But there was one question I didn't get to ask him yesterday. I kind of got the hook before I got all my questions in for James.
More truck races in his future?
I certainly hope so.
More races in your future as well. We know that you're off to Australia for the start of the Formula One season next week. We want to wish you luck, and I know we all love the fact that you've named that very first Cadillac F1 car after a legend of not just this paddock, but paddocks around the world, Mario Andretti. What a cool thing to do. We love that. And of course, it's Will Power's birthday today. It was Mario's birthday yesterday. It's also Justin Bieber's birthday today, and our very own Bob Pottchris. Wow. The Holy
That's
Trinity.
An amazing lineup right
It's an
there.
electric group.
Goodness me. Well, Pato O'Ward is fastest as things stand right now. Dan, thank you so much for being on the show. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back on the streets of St. Pete for more warm-up.
IndyCar Series, Alex Wolf.
Right now in the PNC Bank pits, the Wolfpack making some adjustments with the engine cowling off of the rear end of Scott Dixon's cars. Are wanting to make the back of that car more firm, so making some changes to the rear shocks and springs. The speeder wrenches are out right now, and they're making those adjustments at the moment, getting ready to put that engine cover back on and send Scott Dixon back out.
Now, plenty of good stories, as you mentioned, Davey, in the Firestone Fast Six. I think the favorite story of the day was the strength that Dale Coyne showed in qualifying yesterday with both of his drivers in the Firestone Fast Six.
Yeah, no surprise seeing Dale Coyne up front here. He's been up front St. Pete. I was surprised when I looked at the stats that, you know, he runs good here. He's had drivers fast, and this time no difference. See, with Hauger, a rookie, that's probably the biggest surprise. I think Grosjean being out of the car for a year, not as big of a surprise, but still, when you're out of the car for a year with these guys and just having to get, tuned back in, he didn't get announced in that seat until right before the very first test at Sebring. So he's only been involved with the team for a couple of weeks now. So what a great job for Dale and that team. And the engineers, Michael Cannon's over there, and Michael, he has a history of making fast race cars, and he's doing it here again.
If there was ever a situation, though, where Romain Grosjean was going to be able to get in the car at essentially the last, we kind of suspected this because on Content Day earlier this year, he was there before it had actually been announced, so we anticipated this. But if there was a situation for Romain Grosjean where he could hop in the cockpit and be comfortable right away, it would be with Dale Coyne, who he had some success with when he first came to the NTT IndyCar Series. And there's a lot of familiar faces on the engineering side now that he worked with before.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And that thing, as a driver, as a racing driver, you want to be the top level team. You want the very best, but there's a lot of pressure that goes along with that. And I think Roman kind of got beat up a little bit there. He went from Coyne to Andretti. It just didn't, it was one of those years at Andretti like Ericsson had, just nothing went his way. So he departed out of there, and then a year off, and it's just one of those seasons that I think that you hit the nail on the head. He's in there much more comfortable. He's hopping in that seat. He's comfortable with his people. There's no pressure. It's like, okay, let's just, they're all working together. They all want him there, and so it's paying off.
You and I have talked about this before, and we'll bring it up one more time. The chemistry is huge in all forms of sports, not just motorsports. And sometimes a move that looks like it makes all the sense in the world for a number of reasons just simply doesn't work out. Nobody's to blame. It's just not a good fit.
Yeah, and the perfect fit.
Before we get back to track action, it's time for the Track Walk, sponsored by Java House Cold Brew Coffee.
So, Scotty Mac, brand new season. What is it specifically about this track that seems to suit you so well? Because almost from your first race here, which actually was your first IndyCar race too, you've just been good the whole time.
I don't know, man. The setup, the way that I got to drive it, I like it. I've always been privy to street courses. I love street courses. It's a great way to maybe get a good springboard to start the 2026.
And one of my favorite Scotty Mac memories, it has to have been the big win. That was cool.
Yeah.
What followed in the celebration?
No, it was stupid. I was that bad the year before. I didn't really prep to win a race. Everyone knows Thirsty Threes. We win, we have fun, and that was the start of the Thirsty Threes.
Is this going to be the weekend we see your third pole position at this track and a second win?
I need to execute. That's my word this year. I could have the pace and be fast and do whatever I need to do, but if I don't execute, I won't get anything. And that's what I didn't do last year.
When we did our Mystic Meg picks on who was going to be the season champion all the way back in Nashville at the season finale, I said Scotty Mac's my guy for the year.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I feel good. Like I said, I've got all the ingredients that I need to do to win the championship and win the 500. If I can find myself at the last stop at the 500 in the top 3 and the last couple races with a shot to win the championship, I mean, I feel like that's been a pretty successful year.
Not a bad choice for our first track walk of the season. Scott McLaughlin starts from pole today. You sit on board with him now with what we are terming the Iron Man on board.
I just absolutely love these driver's eye cameras, and now with the addition of that heads-up display, you've got speed, you've got gear, throttle, brake, the track map. It's giving you all the information you need, and right now, T-Bell, that number 3 machine looks pretty hooked up. He's looking comfortable.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly with Jack Harvey that Scotty Mac is my pick for the season as well. Of course, I think Pelot's going to be a favorite. Once again, he's going to be tough to beat, but look at these hands right now. We always talk about quiet hands when we see them. I don't think I've seen quieter hands this weekend than those of Scott McLaughlin. He just looks completely comfortable with his Team Penske Chevy there. Nice and calm, a very light grip, not fighting it one bit. That is a driver fully in tune with his race car, his setup, and his engineer. He's confident, and he has Tim Cindric on the stand. Let's not underestimate how significant of a gain that is for Scott McLaughlin to have one of the best strategists of all time calling the shots.
I mean, ultimately, it was a strategy blunder or a strategy misstep that cost him the race last year, starting on the wrong tire for what ended up being the winning strategy. So like you say, having Tim Cindric, the experience there, the reputation that he's got, the credentials that he's got, that's nothing but a positive.
There was a power vacuum, shall we say, at Penske last year with all of the management changes, with the fact that Will Power moved away as well. There was a position as team leader to be taken. And Scott has taken it. He's stepped into that role. He's put his arm around David Malukas and welcomed him to the team, given him the benefit of his experience and his advice. How important is that, you know, Scott didn't just stand by and think, oh, I'm just going to let this happen. He has actually willingly stepped into that role.
He's a driver that clearly has a burning desire in the offseason to work overtime to gain an advantage. As we see his teammate here in the Verizon car, David Malukas. One thing Tim Cindric told me yesterday was that the moment that Scott was informed that Tim Cindric would be his strategist, it was about 9 o'clock on a weeknight, and Scott fired off an email with everything that he needed, this list of the most minute detail. These are all the things I need to win a championship this year. And Tim Cindric said, that was a pretty good indication to me that this guy's wheels are always turning. But now you go to his young teammate, David Malukas, with the golden opportunity to drive the Verizon car. And I really think Malukas is not only going to be a race winner for the first time this season, probably a multi-time race winner based on everything I've seen so far this weekend. This guy looks jacked up, ready to go.
Coming into a Team Penske ride with only 2 podiums to your name, it's a big ask. It's a big difference. It's not usual that Penske hires drivers that haven't proven they can take a checkered flag in the IndyCar series. But David's been very close with some equipment that is, let's call a spade, below the grade of Penske. He's got the potential to get it done.
Second at the Indianapolis 500 last year. Yeah. He could win the biggest race of all in his first season with Penske. He's that good on an oval, we know.
And, I mean, to be fair, Roger Penske has taken a risk on young drivers previously. How about Paul Tracy? Hadn't won an IndyCar race, had done one IndyCar race for Dale Coyne Racing at Long Beach. As Scotty Mac gets long in one of the overshoots there, is that turn 10? It certainly looks like it.
Turn 10, I know it well.
Yeah, you know it well from yesterday, mate.
But let me just go back and finish. PT went on to win 31 IndyCar races. It was a sensation right out of the gate for Team Penske. I think we're going to see something similar with David Malukas.
Well, with 8 minutes to go in the session, it's a McLaren 1-2 Pato Award from Nolan Siegel. Pato coming into this season hoping to launch a championship challenge. His teammate Nolan Siegel has been handed the task by team boss Tony Kanaan. He has to finish in the top 10 if he wants to keep his seat at the team in 2027. Rosenquist is third, Kirkwood is fourth, and Graham Rahal complete the top 5 with 7 3/4 minutes remaining of the session. Don't go anywhere. Way more warm-up to come your way Sunday morning.
also just about having to have those 2 stints on the alternates this weekend.
Yeah, there's been so many things, some around St. Pete, some around all of our new races and new venues that we have for this year. So the two tires that we'll be using, 2 alternate sets that we'll be using during the race, we'll have some maybe strategy decisions that the teams will get to be able to make.
Well, Kara, we always appreciate you and the great work Firestone does, and we appreciate getting to talk to you each weekend.
All right, thank you, Alex.
Insight so valuable throughout the course of every season for us and for you, the listener, and deep appreciation of Firestone for all they do for the NTT IndyCar Series and the relationship that we enjoy with them here at IndyCar Radio. We are at the 6.5-minute mark of this session. Award, Siegel, Rosenquist, Kirkwood, and Rahal, the top 5. Simpson, Armstrong, BK, Schumacher, and Collette, the top 10. Fast time so far is it is 61.949. Give me the rest of the field. Hauger 11th, Grosjean, Rasmussen. Foster 14th, Palou 15th. Lugard 16th, 17th, Erickson 18th, Newgarden 19th, Dixon 20th, Ferrucci, then Rossi, Malukas, Robb, McLaughlin, Will Power, and Orion Marine.
Work continues here in the pit lane. It's been a really busy session, and there are a few teams that are still looking for that elusive speed and handling. One of them is the team of Kyle Kirkwood, who you just heard leaving after an extensive stay here in the pits. We talked to him after his elimination in Group 1 of qualifying yesterday, and he was not only frustrated, you could tell he was also perplexed because the car just didn't turn on the way he expected it to when they went to the alternate tires. They spent an extensive time in the pits doing front and rear damper changes on that car. They sent it back out, and all the work that they've been doing has been on those alternate tires. That's what they're trying to come to grips with. And remember, it's super important this weekend because they have to run those alternates 2 times in a rule change here for the 2026 season.
Davey, I don't know exactly what the issue is, but throughout the course of this weekend, been watching our multi-screen monitor, I don't know, a handful of laps ago. I know McLaughlin went off in the runoff area, but obviously his car handling well on pole for the 3rd time in 5 years. David Malukas on the inside in row number 3, but seen a couple of offs by Joseph Newgarden in addition to the big one he had on Friday. And I tell you, qualifying yesterday was obvious. Don't know what it is, but something about that car is just not handling well this weekend.
Yeah, you know, just not happy. You know, the going off that first time, I felt like he just, you know, that's a tricky corner. It happens a lot. You just put a wheel off. Didn't think much of it, but just hasn't found the flow. The other 2 Penske cars seem to be pretty good with Malukas and his teammate obviously on the pole, McLaughlin, but just hasn't been happy with that car. Just hasn't seen the speed that we normally see. Right now, he's you know.
Now Christian Lundgaard. So 3 McLarens all in the top 4 with just Alex Palou splitting them in 2nd place there as we ride on board with the Java House entry of Alex Rossi. It's been a difficult weekend for this guy.
Yeah, you're very close with Alex. You have your podcast together. What do you think, or what has he told you, has been the issue this weekend? Because such a promising off-season, so much confidence from both drivers coming into this year, but Rossi rolls off last today.
Yeah, it's tough. He had a really good practice too. Car was in top 5. He was very happy and just spoke to him last night. Said just had a bunch of different things go wrong, a collection of issues, which, as you know, in a series as competitive as IndyCar right now, you cannot leave anything on the table, never mind multiple things. And that's why he finds himself rolling off last. Going to take a little bit of creative strategy, I think, to get the number 20 up to the front, but he knows how to win on the streets. We've seen it before. He's had some dominant performances on street courses over the years, and he just needs to get this season started off on the right way.
But let's be clear, Rossi dead last, but by a second, by 1 second. I don't believe we've ever seen a St. Pete front to back that is 1 second. We've seen probably 1.7, 1.9, maybe 2 seconds. 1 second covers the entire field. That is nuts.
Yeah, that's not 1 second between 25th and 24th. It's 1 second covering the entire field.
The entire field. So there's going to be days like this for everybody. You got Newgarden in 23rd. You know, keep going up the list. Graham Rahal back in 18th. There are some big names that will regularly be down in the field. That's how fantastic the 2026 season is shaping up to be.
We talk big names. We've got new names. Caio Collet, an outstanding driver who did phenomenally in Indy Next last season. He makes his way up into IndyCar this year. Mick Schumacher, former F1 driver, former World Endurance Championship driver. He moves over with Rahal. Big expectations on him. Son, of course, of 7-time Formula 1 World Champion Michael Schumacher. And what about the Norwegian nightmare. Dennis Hauger, who won here on debut in Indy Next last year, won the title in his rookie Indy Next season. He has out-qualified the 4-time champion and starts on the second row of the grid.
And this is what really hammers home the point, James, for me about the field. You've got both Dale Coyne racing cars right up there in the mix. That's how tough it's going to be for all these guys to get it done this year.
If we're looking at ECR maybe underperforming a bit in qualifying yesterday, DCR, Dale Coyne Racing, absolutely outkicked their coverage in qualifying. Both drivers in the Firestone Fast 6, including this guy, the 22-year-old from Norway. Like you said, Will, fresh off that Indy Next championship, his first ever NTT IndyCar Series race. He's into his first ever Firestone Fast 6. It is an interesting situation we're seeing as he's going to line up on the inside of row 2, side by side with this guy, Alex Palou, who tried to get a move done on him, and Hauger not letting it happen easily, leaving him room. Palou giving him extra room too by getting up on the curb, but he's here to race.
This is foreshadowing of what we might see this afternoon in the race. Hauger's getting his elbows out already and trying to figure out the number 10, the champion. They're starting side by side.
You know, I love that, though, because what does that say about the rookie? I'm not here to just be part of the show, and I'm not here to just get humbled by the 4-time champion. I am here to define my IndyCar career and signal to this entire community I'm a race winner of the future. I've done it in qualifying, and I'm not laying down in the race.
And what's important right now is for all 3 of these rookies, for Schumacher, for Hauger, and for Collette, the other 22 drivers in this series, they have to learn how to race against them, right? You have as a driver, you've got a database of every driver that's out there full season, how they race you, how you race them, what their traits are, what their ticks are. For these 3 rookies, nobody has that. It's a clean slate, so you've got to approach them with a little bit more space until you get a couple laps side by side with them to figure out how they drive.
And listen, I've been watching Dennis for years. I first really came across him when he was racing in Formula 3, and I thought he was desperately impressive. He won the title. He was part of the Red Bull Young Driver program that, you know, could have seen him get to Formula 1. For some bizarre reason, they dropped him. He went to race in Formula 2, but at that point, I think he realized, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere where my talents are respected and where I can actually show people what I can do. Turns up here last year in Indy Next, pole on debut, win on debut, absolutely monstered the championship, created the nickname the Norwegian Nightmare, and here he is on debut in the IndyCar Series, P3 on the grid. I mean, that's an arrival, that's an entrance.
And here he is 2 laps after Alex Palou is trying to make a move, and Alex Palou dropped back to regroup, and Palou has not gained but a car length, nothing really, on Dennis Hauger. So never know where they are on fuel level and tire mileage. But right now, Dennis Hauger demonstrating exactly why he qualified so well. He is one hell of a racing driver.
He really is. He really is. Talking to Alex Palou earlier, he's very mindful of where he starts in relation to the drivers around him today. There is our 4-time champion rolling off P4. Believe it or not, his best ever starting position here at St. Peter's. The checkered flag flies. Award is fastest in the end from Palou. Lundgaard is 3rd. Dixon is 4th, and Kirkwood completes the top 5.
How about your front row being 23rd and 24th? This is not an indication of pace for the race, but it's interesting when you're starting up front to be right near the back of warm-up.
Well, why don't we go and hear from Jack Harvey as the cars roll back to complete their laps and will be rolling back to pit lane.
Thanks, Will. I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of teams on pit lane. Warm-up's always such a mystery, especially with a new, softer tyre, but that is what I am told is the preferred one heading into the race. It seems like at least getting to lap 20 is super manageable. I know that Kevin's going to dive into some of the strategy a little bit later on. Maybe you guys can talk about it, but it seems like it's going to be soft tyre preferred today.
Interesting, because we talked to Alex Palou before the show, and he said he was thinking it was going to be a hard race rather than the soft race. But we know Palou likes the hard tire. Mike Shank, welcome to the show.
Love to be here. Thanks, guys. Always love to come and see you in the mornings.
I mean, you look like a groupie here. What's going on? We got Tom Petty. You guys just continue to bring the fun to IndyCar with this SiriusXM partnership.
Yeah.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers this weekend. Awesome.
Great combination with Sirius in this state. Bruce Petty's going to be here with his family today, which is awesome. You guys are going to do a little bit with them. Love the collaboration, the people, the clothing, the stuff, the merch. has always been a good thing, and we got a lot more coming this year. A lot more cool ones coming.
Who gets to choose the bands?
Tim and Jim Meyer probably in SiriusXM. Richard, Jennifer that run SiriusXM. It's a kind of collaborative thing, but also we want artists to want to do it. We've done so many now that artists are actually coming to us and asking if they can be involved, which is great.
Cool.
Again, really exciting ones coming up here soon that we'll announce as we go. But it's just another way to engage folks maybe that wouldn't have, or watch a little bit more than they wouldn't have. Anything to try to keep people heading in the right direction here with IndyCar.
Let's talk about warm-up. We're here on the warm-up show. The warm-up's just completed. You know, you guys doing a decent job in qualifying. I spoke to Felix, maybe a little bit disappointed. He has great pace in practice, but how you guys feeling going into the race?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, like we had a kind of a, for us, year last year. We were really proud of that, putting both cars. I think we had 21 top 10s between both of them, something like that. Didn't win any, had a couple podiums, but we need to take it to that next level. You know, I think Marcus has a ton of speed in his car right now that it's showing a little bit here and there. Just missed it, just literally in one turn, as you know, is all it takes. And he has got speed. Felix is just kind of a professor at this point. He'll get what he needs, and we'll go to the front.
Mike, take us inside the owner's mindset in IndyCar right now, because you talk about top 10s and podiums, but I can tell that that's sort of old news for you at this point. As you start to reach the very front of this sport, that curve starts to flatten. The gains are smaller and more incremental and harder to come by. What's the next frontier for the team? Help us understand where you start to move the chess pieces from here.
We were really clear with expectations with the two guys last year, and we just needed to be in that top 10. We had a terrible 23, a better 24, and we were building, correct? So expectations are always what get us, right? So Jim and I sat down with both the drivers this winter in the most productive way we could possibly, saying, guys, we got not only just the drivers, but the team. We got to get up into that top 5 zone so that you guys are talking about us being a big team, right? And not a mid-pack team or something like that. So we're working on it, and we're getting closer literally every year now.
How do you make those changes? How do you take on the Penske's, the Ganassis? So I've got to be honest, your precinct form had everyone talking.
Yeah.
You guys look phenomenal. Have you rung the changes over the winter, or is it just finessing what you already have?
It's a couple things. Number one, it's Chip Ganassi and all the folks at Chip. They do a ton for us, and Chip and I get along really well. Jim, Tim, and I work with Chip and his group on the marketing side, the technical side, the marketing side. It's just a great marriage right now. They continue, they're just a great organization. There's a reason why they're at the pointy end of this deal all the time. And to me, it's a simplistic view of things and not overcomplicating. If that's a broad statement, but that's what it is. And we feel like we get everything that they have, and that's a great feeling. So for us now, it's up to us to exercise that.
So Mike, how much of an advantage is it to be able to see behind the curtain of currently the most successful team, in the paddock, not just on the racetrack, like you say, commercially as well?
So on the racetrack, just having Alex last year with the year he had, if you think about what he did, we had that. I can show you, if you were driving for us, I could show you exactly what, and he's just a special guy with a special team. But we got to see that. So it's priceless, right? To have that, to know where you could be or what we needed to do better, it's really valuable.
But you want to beat them.
We do.
So this is the
we of course do. I think it's a healthy relationship, though. Chip and I have never, Chip is one of the first people when we do well in any instance, always saying, man, that's a great job. This is what we love. Or we had a couple times last year where all the cars are damn near all made the Fast Six, and that is just a big high five moment.
Big news over the winter, of course, is that both Chevrolet and Honda recommitted to the sport for the long-term future, but also that they would get a charter entry. And as we understand it, Honda's charter entry will be with you. What does that mean to you, the faith that you clearly must feel from Honda in your team and what you're doing?
Just right when you said that, I got a little bit of chills, to be honest with you. You guys know the power of an OEM and how we make livings in racing, how important it is. Of course, on the IMSA side with the Acura program, we've had a big relationship with them. It seems only natural that we would do this. Now, I can tell you we've worked on this for a long time. We worked hard to it, and I'm extreme level of proud. And it changes potentially 2-3 years down the road here. It really changes our look in a big way.
Have you started looking at drivers yet?
Always. I'm always looking at drivers.
Who's on the list?
Well, for one thing, I got 2 good boys right now.
Yeah.
So they get full opportunity to be a part. Simply, my life would be the best, easiest if I had 2 guys going down the road and we went together. That makes my life simple, and Jim's. But the reality is we're going to look at a lot of people. This is a big contract year. I think you guys are going to have many discussions about where drivers are going to go from here on out, which is kind of exciting, I think, for the viewers and people at home. There's a lot of good people that are available, and we think, and I would, that we have a great opportunity at our place.
Last question. You're winning this afternoon, get in your car, head to South Florida, get on your boat. What Tom Petty song you picking?
Free. Is it I'm Free?
Free Falling?
Free Falling. Free Falling is probably my favorite one. I got to see him the year he passed away, unfortunately, like a lot of people, and it's great to have that on board, man.
Nice.
Well, thank you. We know that you won't back down. We will be back here. Thank you for being on the show. Lovely stuff. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers on Felix Rosenquist's car this weekend. Our thanks to Mike Shank. More warm-up coming your way, courtesy of Java House Cold Brew Coffee.
At least start on the red tires.
What I find interesting is that over the course of the weekend, the discussion is equal between the primaries and the alternates. Because of the change in the strategy requiring them to run those alternates in 2 stints, we haven't heard much discussion at all about the primaries. Can we assume now that it's simply because they're happy with the primaries and they're just worried and focused on the alternates?
Yeah, I think the primary is a rock-solid tire. I think that they have no issues with it. I just think that it may be a little off pace, just slightly, but so consistent. A matter of fact, if we recall, Kirkwood said in qualifying that he thinks he would have been better off to stay on that primary tire and not go the alternate because the balance of his car seemed to be a little bit better with those. So I don't think the time and the speed is drastically different. And once the speed falls off those alternate tires, I think that primary could be the trick one to have, or the best one to have.
Last year, they were so unhappy with those alternates in the race that we saw drivers turn only 2 or 3 laps early on and then head to the pits. Will we see them do that this year? More of them do that because of the strategy?
Well, I think that's why I would start on that red, just because of that. They're going to know a lot more than we do right now, because we can't go in those trucks and find out exactly what their feeling is. These engineers are keeping the cards close to their vest because they don't want other teams to know either. But I would say you start them, and just in case the yellow comes out, get them off earlier than later, and then allow the race to lay out a little bit, and know that you have the primary or alternate just one more time to deal with.
I mean, I know we talked about those marbles and some concerns over that if you get too far out of the racing group, but I think conditions, quite frankly, were a little tricky for various reasons over the course of the weekend. But I would think that this thing's about as rubbered up as it's going to get by the time we get to the green flag.
What a crazy weekend, right? I mean, the first day, it was a really great day. The rubber started laying down, then all of a sudden the rains came that evening and that night, washed it completely away. Then in their first practice, it was damp and they couldn't get the rubber down. But now, after the NASCAR trucks and all the practices and races that have been going on lately, it is really good grip out there. I already went out this morning, the 2-seater. It felt really good. The track feels, pretty darn racy, to be honest with you. I was hoping I was going to be on the same alternate tire that the teams are on, but unfortunately I was not on that alternate tire in the 2-seater, just to kind of see if there's any fall off in that. So I couldn't cheat and see what the situation there's going to be.
Got McLaughlin on pole for the 3rd time in the past 5 tries here. Good story on the front row with him is Marcus Ericsson, looking for a rebound year. Really good story for Dale Coy. 2 brand new drivers, but Firestone Fast 6 appearances. Rookie Dennis Hauger rolls off in the 2nd row, and Romain Grosjean rolls off 6th.
You look at the qualifying lineup, and I think it's just set up for a perfect race today. You have McLaughlin. He knows the pole. He's been, like you said, his 3rd time. He's fast up front there. But then you got Ericsson, who's just had a miserable last couple of years, to be honest with you, especially last year on a bit of a rebound. Good to see him up there. That he wants to win a race. I mean, and that's the best way to fix a rebound. Then you got Hauger as a rookie. You got Plo as our past champion. And then you got, as you said, Grosjean, that he's been on the car for a year. And then you got some hungry guys behind him that would
Anyway, how's the track? How's the car?
It's a bit cold right now, actually. There was quite a bit of front graining. That's because of the cold temperatures. I wouldn't expect to see it as bad in the race. It's obviously going to heat up. Car balance is going to shift a little bit. But I think we were pretty sporty. It's hard to read into these warm-ups, man, because you don't really get a chance to do a whole stint on the Reds, and also with the track temperature being so different, that will transform what it's going to be like in the race. So I think we've got a decent idea, but we're still kind of guessing if it'll be all right for 33 laps or not.
Pato, did you run one set of Reds the whole time?
No, I did one set, and then I did a second set at the end because we did a change to see if that was going to be better for the first part of the stint, but I didn't really like it.
All right, and I know it's cold, but what was the fall off like on the Reds for you? How did it feel over the...
I wouldn't say it was too much deg. It was more just a grain.
Yeah.
So it makes you feel like it's going to deg, but I don't actually think that was the main problem. I just think it's because of the temperature. So don't want to read too much into it, because sometimes in the race they do come to life and there's going to be a lot of more rubber laid down.
Pato, we just saw a graphic that came up below saying 2024 Grand Prix St. Petersburg winner. You've got the trophy. You're in the record book, but we know that came as a second place on the racetrack and a disqualification. How much would it mean to you? How badly do you want to win this race on the racetrack and really just kick this season off right?
It'd be awesome, man. It's exactly how you want to start your season. So St. Pete for us was a little bit difficult last year, so we've qualified way better this year, and I think we can make a great race with this race car I've got under me. So we're going to be working hard right now, pre-strategy meeting to see what's going to be the right calls to make. You know, I think it's always a bit of a gamble, but I think I've got the right people behind me to make the decisions.
As you say, man, it was a tough race for you last year, but you made up 12 places on the streets of St. Pete. What's the trick to passing around here?
I would love to tell you there you can pass at every corner, but yeah, some of these guys don't want to leave and give you an inch of racing room, so sometimes you gotta get your hands a little bit dirty. But clean air is usually your best friend. So if you can find some of that in and out sequences after the pit stop or before the pit stop, that's huge.
Pato, looking at some of the guys between where you start in 8th and you know, the top step at the end of the day, one name that is new to the IndyCar series, Dennis Hauger, qualifies 3rd within the same 10th of a second as pole position. We talk a lot about what to expect from drivers that you're racing around. You know a lot of the other cats that you're racing against, but you've got a rookie up there. What do you know about Hauger? What do you think you can expect to see? It's an unbelievable performance for him to be up there.
No, he did a great job. He was part of the Red Bull program when I was there, actually. So it's not a new thing that I've heard of him, and obviously he's very talented, as he's shown yesterday and in Indy Lights with his domination last year. So it's great to have him in the series, and I mean, 2 coin cars in the Fast 6, that's pretty good for them. So we'll be battling it out and yeah, make the best man win.
Love that, man. We'll let you get on. We know you've got engineering to go to. Good luck for the race today.
Yeah, cheers, man. Thank you.
There is a guy who I think in himself, you know, knows how important this year is, but in particular knows how important it is to kick that season off well on that front foot, because he didn't last year. He had that brilliant second half of the season, and he admitted to us in the preseason, if I'd just, you know, if I'd started right in 2025, I could have got closer. I could maybe even have taken it.
I love the fact that when you talk to
No. He won. I mean, Polo won 8 races. It doesn't matter how good you were. You weren't going to take it. He did a great job. He could have been closer, but he wasn't going to take it.
I love that when we talk to Pato O'Ward these days, what I get is a strategic mind, a thinker. He's thinking about setup. He's thinking about the tiniest little details. 3 or 4 years ago, Pato O'Ward was just like, hey, I'll just drive whatever it is and hang on to it. I don't know, man. We're going to make it work. Now, you can tell Pato O'Ward understands how critical his precise feedback is, his leadership is to the total result. It's a new Pato these days.
Even that interview just now talking about, yeah, the track conditions aren't exactly the same. We don't want to overreact to what we felt today, this morning, because it's going to be different this afternoon. I definitely think we saw a completely different Pato last year. It was a championship caliber drive last year. And again, with that year of experience, he's just getting a little bit better. And that's a scary thought, because he's talented.
You know him far better than me. Did he rely too much on that innate natural gift that he had? Is he really having to think now and work and, you know, put in the behind the scenes hours in order to make the most of that brilliant talent that he has?
When I think about a young, inexperienced Pato O'Ward, I will always remember his Indy practice crash. Had a huge shunt, car got up in the air, came back, we interviewed him. He's like, yeah, you know, it happens. We got a backup car. And I remember thinking to myself, There's a lot more of little detail in this sport than what I'm hearing right now. What I love about Pato last year, Pato right now, is he is so much more like Alex Palou than he was back then.
Let's take a look back then over what happened in this warm-up session today. A warm-up session which Pato O'Ward has topped. Louis Foster has been a difficult weekend for him so far as he returns to the sport with RLL. Just running deep at turn 10, getting it spun around and back on his way.
Dixon also has had a challenging weekend with that practice crash. And here he is getting the paint at just the wrong angle heading into turn 1. You're going to see that a lot today from drivers right from the start.
Graham Rahal. Ooh, all arms and elbows.
The curbs around this racetrack are not very forgiving for an IndyCar. You got to be so careful.
Tough weekend for this guy. Joseph Newgarden had a big off in the final corner in practice and gets a little bit of lockup there on the paint. Just like Scott Dixon. Dare I say a Dario moment, James, down in turn 1.
Too soon, brother, too soon. There was no Jimmy Hinch there to help him make the corner.
Not even our pole sitter was immune today. Again at turn 10.
Again, easy to do, as I know all too well. But this is the time you want to do it. You're driving on older tires on full fuel for the first time of the weekend. You got to practice those brake zones and push it. And talking about pushing it, here's Palou trying to get around the rookie who just out-qualified him, Dennis Hauger, and not letting it happen. This, I think you said it, this is foreshadowing. I'm looking forward to this.
I love this. My favorite moment of warm-up and my favorite moment so far of Dennis Hauger's young career, signaling to the field, I'm a contender now and for the rest of the season.
Listen, guys, before we go, I want to make sure that we talk about Marcus Ericsson, who's qualified second on the grid for the race today. Had a horrible 2025. He knows what it takes to win on this circuit. He needs a good 2026, and he started things off in the perfect way. And I spoke to him last night. He is pumped.
Well, we heard Dan Taurus say what an impact Will Power has had on Marcus Ericsson. I don't know how or what, but if it's working, that's a great thing for Marcus Ericsson.
Right, before we go, one name. Who's winning today?
Scotty Mack.
Scotty Mack.
Wow. Well, there you go. It's Scotty Mack. He wants something to say about that, though. Alex Palou from P4, his best starting position, but he has a rookie ahead of him.
And that's how he feels about that.
That's timing for you. Folks, we cannot wait to bring to you the opening race of the 2026 NTT IndyCar Series. Our thanks to our friends at Java House Cold Brew Coffee. We're going to be with you for this lengthened warm-up show every single race day of the season. This is the first race day of the season. We will be on Fox at 12 noon Eastern to bring you the race from the streets of St. Pete. Every race in one place in 2026, and that is on Fox. Who will bring home the glory and take victory? Join us to find out. We can't wait for you to join us. We can't wait to bring you the opening race. We'll be back in St. Pete in a couple of hours.